So this is the deck supper, August 10th, 2018. And James is having antipasto and these Susie's thin quinoa and brown rice cakes. I'm having one. He's also having kale juice, a little bit of cucumber juice. James was listening to the radio and it went up to plus 40 today, which was a record. It's unbearable. And
31 inside.
So hot.
Which is a new household record.
Is it? I don't know.
For us, yep. Well, Ty.
And he'll tell you about Fire and Fury Inside the Trump White House by Michael Wolff, which we listened to on our trip to the Peace Country.
Grand Prairie Slug. I didn't drive off the road laughing.
Well, some parts were really funny, but it was good.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I'm not into that sort of thing, but entertaining all the same. I especially liked the quoted speeches that went nowhere.
Oh, you mean like, yeah, that was hilarious.
They were good.
Well, pretty well any unscripted speech of his doesn't go
Awesome.
anywhere. I mean, I think a lot of his stuff is like when he says fake news. No, that's a lie. But you know, like when he's giving a speech and he's going off the top of his head and he says, you know, the economy's been growing like 10%. I'm exaggerating. In the last year, he doesn't really know. He's just blasting off the top of his head. It's not really a lie. It's just, you know, it's carried away. But the way this guy describes his speech style, it reminds me of Hitler. You know, like Hitler was probably more conscious about it. Okay, here's what Hitler says in Mein Kampf. He says, you know, like he says, you have to judge an audience and play it.
Oh.
So apparently Trump can do that. Right?
I love your milk smile. That's a kale smile.
Yeah.
It's really cute.
Well, yeah, I have to drink it fast. Wow, that's disgusting. Oh, I still got it there, or did I get it?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Anyway, what else? Made me look like I had a Joker smile there. Anyway, what else?
So you think Trump judges the audience and adapts his speech accordingly?
Well, that's what this guy was saying. Like there was one speech where he was going nowhere, and then he jumped onto another issue and had people weren't responding, and then all of a sudden they were practically rolling in the aisles, and all with laughter. So, you know, I don't think he's nearly as smart as Hitler. Not to say Hitler was that smart. I think Trump's pretty. I think Hitler had a good memory and, you know, tried to learn a few things. Trump has made his name and fame, or infamy, by dealing with the mafia. You know, you don't have to be smart to be a mafia person or a cat's paw. I forget it was. There were a couple of points that I hadn't thought of before. This guy raised.
I should have written them down for you. That's all I do to remember things that I read. Is I just take notes. because I have a bad memory type. James has a Kappa memory type, so once it's in there, it's there.
Don't cross me, anyone out there. I'll remember.
I don't even remember people. If I see a person in the same context, then I remember them. But if they change to a different location or something, you know, I have no idea who they are. I mean, outside my immediate family and stuff like that, I do know my family. But if I saw somebody that, like an acquaintance, that I saw almost every day in like Hawaii, I don't know if I'd recognize them.
I'd recognize the person. I wouldn't recognize Hawaii.
I wouldn't recognize either. I've never been to Hawaii. I've always wanted to.
Yeah. It's probably way too crowded.
Yeah. Somebody offered to take me once. I declined.
Are you going to talk about those other things? Might as well. I tried to think about some of that Trump stuff.
I preferred what they did with this version of Overboard to what they had done with the original Overboard in the 1980s. They really worked on the story and came up with something better. I'm impressed. Oh, and I'd said earlier that the police officer had referred to the original Goldie Hawn Overboard. It wasn't the police officer. It was the doctor. Whatever. But anyway.
Talking about
really
amnesia?
Good. It was good. Yeah.
It's funny they didn't have a... Maybe there was. Was there a somewhat older woman? Was there a cameo with
I'm
Goldie Hawn?
thinking she was the mother in this, but I'm not sure, hey? I mean, she looked super old if she was, but she would be. How old would she be? Because she was not a young woman in the 80s.
She wasn't that young in the 70s. I think she might have been 20 years old around 1970, because she was on Laughing in the late 60s. I think it was that early. So you figure she was around 20 now. If you think about that, she'd be born around 1950, which would make her 68. Right?
I don't know.
Yep, 68.
Well, she looked like, the mother looked like 80. So she wasn't doing that well if she's really...
Well, they could have made her up. They can make people look this and that and the other.
Anyway.
They make Donald Trump actually look half living. How's that guy?
Yeah, not his hair though.
Well, his hair looks like it's got an independent life of itself. I think it's an alien life form that crawled on there. It's just living a parasitic existence.
Maybe it's the hairpiece that's actually president of the United States.
That's right.
That somebody needs to write that movie.
That's right. And the guy's really like logical and rational.
Whoever does it, my gift to you.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, Ready Player One is a Steven Spielberg thing, and you know what? We saw the credit or the previews for this, and I was like, that doesn't even work because nobody who listened to New Order would have ever listened to Van Halen. or whatever. I was just, is that what I said? Something like that.
Depeche Mode. I think is what you said, but the same thing applies with New Order, isn't it?
No, yeah, they were too.
There you go.
And as far as I can tell, like, okay, so this is about a video game, and everybody is more interested in living virtual reality than reality. And so this video game has taken over. And people are doing stupid things like mortgaging their house for upgrades in the video game or whatever. And so basically the video game is taking over ownership of everything. It's a huge corporation. Anyway, I'm just sweating. I don't know. Anyway, I'm really not into video games, but I did like the way that they wove movie characters like King Kong into their game, and the special effects, the computer generated images were great. So if that's all you're looking for, awesome, then you will love this. I'm not into video games, and I'm not into movies about video games, and this whole thing is kind of lost on me. And anyway, it does seem like more of I don't know if it's Spielberg or somebody like involved in this. I don't know. It seems like, well, what? I don't know. It seems like
big print there.
Well, it is Spielberg.
Well, there you go.
Spielberg, but no, I'm saying with the storyline, it seems like it's somebody reaching out to somebody in their past that was born when I was born, and liked all that sort of music or whatever. Maybe half of the music was what the love interest liked, and half was what the guy liked.
Yeah,
that's more because I can't see the same person liking both kinds of music, and I don't.
I'm the only person in the world that would listen to Depeche Mode and Van Halen.
Yeah, I don't think whoever that wrote this really, or designed this, like, let's start over or whatever together. That's what I take from the movie anyway, is it's somebody reaching out to somebody from the past saying, let's try to make it work, because we had something good, and here we are old and missing out on our lives, and we should get living together or whatever. But I don't know, right? Maybe I'm just reading into that because I was desperately trying to read into something other than the video game story. But I have a feeling that the person definitely didn't like Depeche Mode, because the evil guys were IOIs, and Depeche Mode had a 101 tour, so these guys have IOI all over them.
Oh, that's amazing.
101, right?
It's a little reference.
I think, right?
Yeah, it could be.
Anyway.
I think I'm going to eat some plum brandy here.
I think you will. It's starting to go a little bit, eh? Let's see, give it a lick.
I'm drunk already.
Is it plum brandy?
No.
Oh. It's just leaking a little bit of its juice.
Somewhere in between. Anyway, it's too good.
Well, it was in the fridge, so.
Yeah, I'm not worried.
You have fruit fly eggs in it.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
That'd be terrible.
Not really.
Well, the eggs wouldn't. It'd be terrible if they were crawling around and you actually saw them.
It would be kind of disgusting.
At this point in my life, I don't think that would bother me overly much. I'd just be
they're just
see you later,
like
little
small
guys.
versions of shrimps or something like that, right? Aren't shrimps disgusting? They're wrong.
I mean, if you know what they're eating, how bad could it be? I mean, if you ate a fly that flew onto your watermelon,
and you were near an outhouse,
yes, then you'd have to worry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so as far as Spielberg movies go, not so bad. Just not for me.
Just not so good either.
Well, just not my thing. I'm not into this whole thing.
I know.
But a lot of people in my generation really, really are.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, totally. And,
I never was a huge fan, so. Prefer George Lucas, gotta say.
oh, boy. So hot. You finished off all your antipasto. Should I have brought a bigger jar?
No.
That was good size?
No, good size.
Good. So I don't really have room in the fridge to refrigerate.
I mainly got filled up with the cauliflower.
Kale
Is that cauliflower you said?
yeah, one was kale.
Cucumber.
And, yeah.
There we go. It was mainly just froth.
Froth, yeah.
Anyway, that's the disgusting part. Oh well.
Yeah, I tried to put the juice in the 1 cup. I don't know, you get some froth on there, it's almost like a smoothie.
I know.
I don't know what it is. I think it's that my juicers are...
Top notch?
No, not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they let some of the pulp through.
Oh?
I think that's what happened. I'm still totally thrilled with my juicers.
Mm-hmm.
So we get a lot of use out of them. A lot of use.
We get a lot of use, they get a lot of abuse, I think, right?
Yeah.
Well.
They do the job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, other people, they probably have a juicer and it sits in the cupboard. They don't ever use it.
Yeah, it's a wedding trip.
Yeah.
Never gets
But
used. And then you end up,
ours
never gets
get used
until you get hold of
like crazy. Every day. Probably 3 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I didn't drink the kale juice because I'd already had some in the morning. So it didn't make sense for me to drink it now. But I'll have some in the morning again tomorrow. And the next day. And the next day. With my turmeric. Alright, so James would definitely recommend Fire and Fury Inside the Trump White House by Michael Wolff.
I don't recommend the Fire and the Fury, I just recommend the book about it.
Yeah, the audiobook. He really enjoyed it.
That guy should be impeached.
Anyway.
Well, he never should have. People should have taken him seriously right from the get-go. They're still not taking him seriously. I don't get it.
He is entertaining, though.
Yeah, he is.